What's up, everybody? My name is Brad, and today I've got another Stephen King book review for you, and I'm going to be talking about The Drawing of the Three. This is book 2 in the Dark Tower series. Last week I did a review on book 1, The Gunslinger. I'll put a link to it up here. But this is the Plume edition, like I had last week from The Gunslinger. The illustrations on this one are done by Phil Hale. I'll show two really quick. That's Roland, the Gunslinger himself. And I'll show one more. I'm trying not to show too many because they are sort of spoilery. But this is a character, Odetta Holmes slash Detta Walker. We'll talk more about her in a minute. I actually have two copies of this. I have the Signet mass market paperback as well. But I'll go ahead and read the synopsis really quick and then get into my thoughts and everything about the book. Stephen King returns to the Dark Tower in the second mesmerizing volume in his epic series. Roland of Gilead has mysteriously stepped through a doorway in time that takes him to 1980s America, where he joins forces with the defiant Eddie Dean and courageous Odetta Holmes. A savage struggle has begun in which underworld evil and otherworldly enemies conspire to bring an end to Roland's desperate search for the Dark Tower. Masterfully weaving dark fantasy and icy realism, The Drawing of the Three compulsively propels readers towards the next chapter, and the tower is closer. So with these videos, I'm going to try to keep these book reviews non-spoiler. I'm going to try not to spoil the book before and the current book. What I would like to do is do a non-spoiler video review for each book in the series, and then later go back and do more in-depth discussion type reviews, or just discussions talking about characters and plot and Easter eggs and tie-ins and all that kind of stuff with each book. And I think I'd call that series like Journey to the Tower or something like that. If that's something you would be interested in, just let me know down in the comments. But for this one, this is book 2, like I said, and it takes place basically just hours after we leave Roland in the Gunslinger. Roland is on the beach when we see him in this, and this isn't really a spoiler because it happens right at the very beginning of the book, but it does inform sort of Roland's actions and his sort of character arc through the rest of the book. But at the very beginning, he encounters these creatures, these monsters called Lobstrosities, and has a fight with them and gets injured in the process. And his injury really hampers his skills as a gunslinger. He's really not able to do and perform all the duties he would normally be able to do as a gunslinger. And also his injuries get infected, so he starts to get sick, and he starts to slow down, and that, like I said, really has an effect on him through the rest of this book. But as the title of the book says, this is The Drawing of the Three, and Roland travels along this beach and he encounters these doorways. And these doorways, they're just doors, in a door frame standing on the beach. They're not connected to any walls or anything like that. That's probably a better look at sort of what I mean. It's just a door standing on the beach. And on the front of each door, there's a name carved in there. There's the Prisoner, the Lady of Shadows, and the Pusher. And when he opens these doors, this is really starts to expand upon the concept of there being other worlds, other levels of the Dark Tower, which sort of was talked about a little bit in the Gunslinger. Jake Chambers from the Gunslinger, he was from Earth, he was from our world, and he had somehow ended up in Midworld where Roland is from. And these doors in this book, they all open up to New York City. They're different decades. I think it's the 60s, 70s, and 80s. But when he opens the door, it's actually from the point of view of someone else. He's basically looking through someone else's eyes. He gets in their heads. He's able to sort of control their bodies and their actions and so on. And these people that we meet through these doorways, this is the formation of Roland's quartet. And what quartet is in high speech in Midworld, quartet means it's a group of people that have been brought together for a purpose to serve Ka. And Ka means duty or destiny. So it's a group of people that have been brought together for serving some purpose for some type of destiny. And the people we meet through these doors start to be the formations of Roland's quartet. He used to have a quartet when he was younger, and that is really told a lot more in the book Wizard and Glass, and we'll get to that when we get to that book. But this book, we have the characters. We have Eddie Dean, we have Odetta Holmes / Detta Walker. That was a picture I showed. She has 2 personalities. And then the last door is a man named Jack Mort. He's a sociopath. And Eddie Dean is he's a heroin addict. So that's a little bit about him. I don't want to say too much more about each person because I don't want to give any spoilers away. But again, like always, the character development by Stephen King is outstanding. It's second to none. The dialogue with the characters, they're sort of connections to each other in a way, how the story unfolds. It's all great. Eddie Dean he's so funny, he's hilarious. He's one of my favorite characters in the Dark Tower series. And his stuff with Eddie is dealing with sort of the drug trade and the mob and the cartel and that kind of stuff. Odetta Holmes, her stuff is she's really big into the civil rights movement, which is a good parallel. Odetta Holmes, like I said, is part of the civil rights, but her other personality, Detta Walker, she is a racist. She's just this nasty, vile, just hateful woman. And I couldn't not stand her. But that was a testament to how well she is written. I don't think you're supposed to like Detta Walker. She's just this spiteful, hateful woman. And that is, like I said, a testament to how good the writing is. It's not that she's annoying because she's poorly written or anything like that. It's how well she is written. She reminded me a lot of Joffrey Baratheon from A Song of Ice and Fire, just how hated he was. She's not to that level, but along those lines of just a really well-written character that I don't think you're supposed to like. And then Jack Mort, the last door, he's a sociopath. I don't want to say too much about him, but this book, it is, like I said, really delves into the expanding of the Dark Tower universe, Stephen King's multiverse, and this concept of other worlds, other times. That's really going to be sort of a pillar of the series going forward. These other places, other times, other worlds is really important going forward, as well as the formation of the quartet. This group of people that are sort of going to band together with Roland on the journey towards the Dark Tower. And that's something I really enjoyed about the book. In the first book, The Gunslinger, Roland is sort of a loner. He's cold-hearted. He doesn't show much emotion or anything. And in book 2, this is sort of the arc of Roland, him starting to change a little bit due to his injury and his sickness at the beginning of the book. He has to start to change a little bit, and he can't do the things he would normally be able to do because he got hurt. So he starts to have to rely on other people and lean on other people, which is not something he's used to doing. So that was nice to sort of see Roland change a little bit, and he might change even more going forward throughout the rest of the series. But this book is infinitely better, in my opinion, than the first book. Depending on what day you ask me, this book is tied for my favorite book in the series with book 7, The Dark Tower. This is a solid 5-star read. This one, it hits the ground running right from the beginning, where we have the encounter with the Lobstrosities and on through the rest of the book. It's action-paced, it's fast, it's action-packed, it's fast-paced, and I love the creativity and the world building that Stephen King is doing in this, laying bricks on top of the foundation that he set up in The Gunslinger, which is even going to lead more into the other books in the series. There are instances and events also in The Gunslinger and in this book. There are actions taken and things done that sort of have a butterfly effect, a ripple effect on the rest of the series going forward. They sort of, you might not even really pay much attention to them when they happen, but later on in the series, you'll remember back to it and you'll see how much of an impact certain things have had on the series going forward. The butterfly effect, is, if a butterfly flaps its wings in Mexico, the wind from that will eventually cause a hurricane in Japan, or, something along those lines. So I really like the layering and the world building, and I don't even think Stephen King knew where it was going when he was writing. He's sort of infamous for saying that, he doesn't plan his stories out. He doesn't know where they're going to end up. He doesn't know the ending to it. He just sort of writes them, lets them write themselves, and wherever they end up, they end up. I think that sort of is indicative of a lot of people say he doesn't end books very well, and that might be the reason why he doesn't plan the endings out. So it was fascinating to see these small bits and pieces and actions and things that occur in these first two books that do have, these consequences later on down the line. It's all seamless and cohesive and connects together really well. I don't really know what else to say about this book. Like I said, the characters again are fantastic. We get some more interesting characters introduced into Roland's world: Eddie Dean, Odetta Holmes / Detta Walker, and Jack Mort. And like I said, the beginnings of this quartet, this really important group of people that seem to all have a destiny related to the Dark Tower in one way or another. Like I said, this is a solid 5-star read for me. If I said this in another video, if you read The Gunslinger and didn't like it, please try this book out. I really think this book will change your opinion on the series, and you would want to continue reading going forward. But if you read this book and you don't like this book, you're not going to like the rest of the series. So you may as well stop at this one if you don't like this one. But that's all I want to say about it. Again, this has been Drawing of the Three. This is part 2 in the Dark Tower series. It really, like I said, hits the ground running and doesn't let up until the final pages. And really, I don't remember if it's a cliffhanger ending or not. I don't remember for sure. But it really leaves you wanting to know what happens next. It's a really, compelling read, and you want to learn more about these characters, where they're going, and where they're going to end up. But like I said, I've been rambling for too long. This has been Drawing of the Three, part 2 of the Dark Tower series. Again, my name is Brad. Thanks for spending your time with me, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.